After a disappointing year for heavy metal, we start 2026 off with the band's return after 11 years. But will they have the elevation to get us off to a good start? Speaking of good starts, it was 2021 and we had received an awesome new experimental punk band from England that blew me away with their new Long Leg. Can we expect more of the same, or will Secret Love have to stay that, a secret? Plus, AI is here on my playlist now, and I don't like it. Hear my epic rant, and sit back and relax, and let Joe Compton give you a touch of indies.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Touch of Indies. I am your host, Joe Compton, and yes, I do have a couple albums to talk about today. I'm real excited about as we kick off our 2026 review coverage of all things indie. I'm real excited to have you here. Thanks you for joining me. It's awesome to see familiar faces out there for anybody who's out there, and anybody who sees this after the fact. Hey, I get it. It's late where you are probably, and you probably will catch this on the back end, which is fine. That's great. I hope you do, because we're going to talk about some really good stuff today. And it all begins with the epic return of a doom proggy death metal band from Sweden/France. They're continental band with their two members, and Jerry Lindholm and Sebastian Pierce. This is Enshine, and their newest album, Elevation, just came out. It is their first album in 11 years. It's their third full-length album overall, and it is a maestro blend of growls, the likes of Amon Amarth and At the Gates, with soulful, blistering, atmospheric, ethereal tunage like that of an Amorphous, or again At the Gates, and it all starts with the lead single Shimmering. Shimmering is this cavernous, ethereal, orchestrated guitar bonanza that blends this blistering thunder approach, as you could hear it in the background, kind of how it blends together. The percussion comes slowly in and dives in. This is very much reminiscent of what they do throughout this entire album, but this is a really good representation of the quicker versions of the songs that they produce here on this album. This is an amazing array of great lyrical content meets, you know, this incredible journey aspect. It's like a hero's journey almost. You know, one of the lyrics that stood out for me was in this song. It was pushing you through the last echoes of agony, the dreams brightly wander. And you know, it's all about searching and landscaping and covering landscapes. And Shimmering is a really powerful 6 minute song that really starts this album off with an incredible bang. Uh, Heart Bliss is the second song on the album, and again, the longing and the way they create distance, it's this reverberant echoing wall of sound that is blistering and beautiful. And again, it has this tempo to it, this pacing to it that's kind of, you know, somewhat walking fast to a kind of sprint in a little respects, but it always seems controlled. It always seems like we're kind of seeing everything from a distance. If this was a movie, we'd be in a wide shot for most of it. The third song on the album is Where the Sunrise is Felt. It's the more gothic leaning track on this album. It's a lot darker. It's catchy as hell. It has a great downbeat. Everything that with the song moves like a levitation, you know. So it's got, again, this really nice little, like, almost meditative state feel to it, where it just kind of just walls you with guitar and percussion, and then it pushes you past that. You know, hi JD, nice to see you. But yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy, right? Because this is where on this album there's a kind of a shift, and this is the one departure genre wise that I think they make throughout this album. Because in number 4, the fourth song is Distant Glow, and it's kind of got this old school, really strong synthesized riff. Reminds me a lot of Metallica's To Live Is To Die, where it's kind of got that fade in, fade out drum beat that's going to kind of kick it in, and then the guitars kind of repeat riff, and it is instrumental, so it has that kind of instrumental bliss to it, like To Live Is To Die. And it's not as long as that song, thank God, but it is an interesting way to kind of further their just this idea that they're kind of, we're seeing this from a distance, right? And that continues with The Moment, which is the 5th song on the album. Again, another rich tempoed song that has this incredible intro, very ethereal. I labeled this song as the soundtrack of ashes of an erupted volcano. It's got this lingering atmosphere, and what is happening here is you're getting the prog elements of this band a lot more, the doomier elements, and it is starting to get into a second gear, like a comfortable space where it's kind of samey, but not really. I mean, the tempos always change and everything, but it never gets out of second gear, and it starts this kind of domino effect throughout the rest of the album. The 6th song is The Purity of Emptiness, and it just feels like this leftover riff that came out of what happened in the previous song in The Moment. So it just kind of feels like it's just like this continuation, and it never speeds up, and it just kind of stays in its lane. And then number 7 is Soar to Fall, and it's almost like this exhale, where it kind of feels like the end of a marathon, not a sprint, where it's kind of just like, it's kind of like those little lights and little flashes of things you're seeing and just experiencing when you're trying to catch your breath, right? And it's kind of the soundtrack for all of that, and it just never gets faster for that. And it's very interesting that they stay within this in the way that they've arranged this album, because now we're 4 songs into past the instrumental that kind of set this tone, right, and set this pacing, and it never speeds up from that point forward. um Reignite gives you kind of the last bit of pickup for it, and it's the 8th song of the album, the final song on the album, and it has this incredible amount of percussion to it that really gives it a fierceness that we've been missing. This one sounds more like a power metal song. It has those kind of standards to it, the bang, the banging anthem aspects to it that you kind of move your head and bang your head to. It's kind of, and then it goes into this kind of dark corner where it's kind of got that gothiness to it again. This band is interesting because they have a sound, they have a tempo, they have a richness to them, and the tempo loses luster. Like once that instrumental happens, it just seems like it's just a continuation of the songs after that. The musicianship here is incredible, though. I mean, you can't fault the way that it sounds. You can fault the way that it feels, but you can't fault the way that it sounds because it sounds pristine. The musicianship is stellar. It moves like you can't believe in terms of production. You can't hear the mistakes a lot. It's very covered. It's very polished. Um, and after the third track, though, I was fighting to kind of figure out if I liked anything on here. I would say that Reignite, the 8th song, I will probably have reach my rotation, but certainly Shimmering and Heart Bliss and Where the Sunrise Felt, the first 3 songs on the album, are certainly going to make my rotation solid throughout. Um, JD says interesting approach, and I have to highlight the artwork too. It looks pretty nice. Yeah, the artwork is stellar. It's a very good continuation of their. They strike me as a band that has kind of a concept behind them, but they haven't really leaned into it. They just kind of subtly hint at it. Yeah, it's 41 minutes for 8 tracks. I don't find that to be that long. No song here is longer than 7, which is the first song is 7 minutes, and then the rest of them are in the 5 range. With the instrumental being probably the shortest song on the album, I think. I'd have to go back and look, which is kind of ironic, because usually that's not the case. That's usually the break where the thing is, and I think what's happening with this is they're fighting kind of that idea, right? They're fighting the idea of, are we a concept album band, or are we a band that has solid riffs and catchy songs, right? And I think there's 2 sides to this album, and it's the first 3 songs versus the last 5. And once it starts the instrumental, like I said, it just never kind of gets out of second gear, except for Reignite. Reignite has those moments, but then it goes back into the gothic aspect of it, and it ends kind of how the instrumental begins. So for me, if this is the way heavy metal's going, so be it. I don't mind the growling aspect. That's another thing that you have to keep in mind. There's no clean vocals in this band at all. It is all growl. It is all visceral, punches and sounds. But it sounds more like an Amon Amarth, kind of aspect, or at the gates. There's the screaming is kind of that background scream. It's because of the tempo of it. You get the nice growling. You can understand a lot of what he's saying. I mean, he is Swedish, so pronunciation might be a little bit off, but otherwise, this is a decent start to the year for heavy metal. I look forward to seeing if more bands are following this trend, and it's kind of interesting because we are getting kind of a perspective of what is extended on to 2025 for me, which is bands are experimenting a lot more with genre and playing with genre, and that does kind of turn me off. The song has the most important, yeah, yeah. I understand that. I get that. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of genre play here, and it's interesting. So go check it out if you're a fan of At the Gates or Amon the Mirth or Gojira. This has some Gojira elements to it too. So that kind of epicness that Gojira is known for. This Enshine is very 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 close to those bands, and I would say they're just they're just not there yet for me in terms of that. All right, we're moving on to our next album review, and here's a little taste. Today we're going to talk about Dry Cleaning's Secret Love. It is their fourth album, and this is a band that got on my radar in 2021 with with their One Long Leg, which made my top 10, my indie dozen list that year as one of my favorites. I really enjoyed. They were a breath of fresh air. They were a lot different. This song, with notwithstanding, which I'll talk about in a little bit, that was the cute things. That's toward the end of the album, but that particular song is not reminiscent of what Dry Cleaning is, and maybe now I'm realizing maybe I should have played one that's more reminiscent, because a lot of what Dry Cleaning does is they utilize spoken word. Florence Shaw is a kind of a poet auteur in terms of how she presents her vocal stylings. She does a lot more singing on this album than she's done in past albums, though. And there is a lot of chorus harmonies here, which is very interesting. This band really, really changes a lot in this album. This sounds a lot more industrial than their previous albums that sound more like punky, post-punk, a lot, a little bit of that British new wave punk that has been around for a little bit now, that wet leg kind of idle sound. This is more of a slowed down tempo, but it also has that kind of really interesting industrial synthesized element to it too, which is different for this band. This band also, this album also has a lot of grit. It has a lot of sand behind it, like it's buried underneath a sand castle. In a lot of respects. And I'll talk more about that as we go through the track list. It starts off with Hit My Head All Day, which is very much what I just talked about. Very industrial, has a synthesized element to it, The bass plays a big role in this first song. These guys, musician wise, they're quartet. I mentioned Florence already. Florence Shaw is the vocalist. Lewis Maynard is your bassist. Your drummer is Nick Buxton, and Tom Dowse is the keyboardist slash guitarist. And he uses a lot more keys in a lot of these songs than he does guitar, which is very interesting. But this is very much Florence's, parade into, I'm seeing the world differently than you are, and you better wake up kind of idea. There's too many stupid people in the world, kind of idea, and it is very much the reminiscence of what dry cleaning has been, vocally for a while, and then it completely shifts. We go into Cruise Ship Designer, which is the second song of the album, which has this more like Rolling Stones riffy kind of rocky sound to it. The guitars are aplenty here, and I love the initial riff on this song. The vocals here though get muddled a lot in this aspect, and then you have that Rolling Stone esque, back vocal chorus that goes along with this song, which they utilize quite a bit in this album. You got the harmonies behind the ooh ah, cruise ship designer, kind of behind what Florence is doing on top of that, and the guitars are doing, and it's very interesting. And it kind of sets a different tone, and I was taken aback by it actually when I first listened to this album, because it doesn't stop. You get to My Soul Half Pint, and this one was a lot more like their previous album. This one's really indie rock, very like very much like, I would say, like an OK Go kind of sound, but with, of course, again, Florence's unrelenting passion to kind of call people out, and she does a lot of that in this album, and it's really awesome. But it's also very introspective. This is different for her in a lot of respects, because the next song, Secret Love, is very introspective. It's a very much calling herself out in a lot of respects, looking in the mirror and kind of looking at things. This one has a cool riff to it, but then it kind of just doesn't ever tempo change at all. And that's kind of what I'm feeling with this album and Dry Cleaning a lot. They're utilizing the spoken word formula where you kind of riff, and then you kind of do the spoken word prose behind it. This one is a lot of reminiscent of what I'm talking about, where it kind of feels like it's kind of under earth. Everything seems muddled. There's not a clear sound here. It's kind of very jaded and kind of pushed together, and it feels weird. It sounds weird, and you really have to pay attention to get Florence's girth in this song. And that continues with Let Me Grow and You'll See the Fruit. Again, another introspective, wonderful riffing. The lyrics here, if you go back and read the lyric sheet, you'll be astonished at how just articulate and beautiful she is about really bad things. And it's really interesting, but again, very quiet. This one is like she's almost whispering behind the music, and it's very disconcerting. It troubles me a little bit, because I thought production-wise they were starting to grow, and they kind of regress here a little bit in the production. They kind of go back to that beginning of the EPs where you heard the kind of the distortion, and that distortion crowds her ability to kind of be very starch and very vocal and give you what she's talking about, and stating it out loud. And I think that is tough when you're trying to sell this gimmick to an audience listening, right? This album also really gets muddy and slow too. I don't know what is about the two albums I'm reviewing, but I feel like nice brisk walking pace here is kind of the idea of this album. But it's like sometimes you go, I'm gonna lap. I'm gonna lap. I want to go faster. I want to feel it, right? Um, Blood is that song for them. To their credit, about this is the exact halfway point for them. Blood is the sixth song on the album, and it is the pick me up that they badly needed. There's tempo changes in here. Uh, this one actually allows Florence's whispering to kind of be very cool, very like jive-esque, very much like if you were in a club listening to spoken word. This is kind of that clubby vibe song, but it has this kind of really neat like 50s esque tempo change to it that kind of gives you this really nice little smoky. I'm in a smoky cigar room vibe, right? Um, then you get to number 7, which is Evil Evil Idiot, and again, more of Florence being Florence. This is an elevator. This is an elevator song for me. It sounds like elevator music, and it puts her forefront at least. This is more of what dry cleaning is to me. This is the song on Long Last Leg that I didn't like, but I understood what they were doing, and this is very much that song here too. Again, but then it goes into the weird like backing vocal chorusy kind of like harmonies that kind of just, it's almost like you're standing in an elevator shaft and you're hearing ghosts kind of idea. That's how I describe that a little bit. The eighth song is Rocks. It is finally, we get a little bit of Nick in this album. Nick Buxton seemingly has kind of been backgrounding it. He kind of just does that little, those little taps on the cymbals and the little snare drum aspect. That's kind of like that quirky, again cigar jazzy vibe. Well, this is the one that he really comes out on, and he finds his footing. And this is the most punk song on the album for me. I love the cadence of it. It feels like they're like this could like open a Ramones show kind of idea. And again, the lyrics here are phenomenal. I am so impressed by the way that Florence riffs. She is incredibly astute, very powerful, and if you read the lyrics, they'll stay with you. They'll stick with you. If you hear them, they'll stick with you. Um, and then the song I played for you, "The Cute Things," which is my favorite song on the album. It's got this catchy riff. It's this Pretenders like song. It feels like a song that Chrissy Hynde would put her money behind. This is where the chorus really works, and Florence sings on this song, which I love. I love her voice. I wish she would sing more. I really do. I think I think she doesn't have the confidence in that, and I wish she would put it out there more. It looked like in the last album that they did that we were going to get more of that, um, but it just slowed back down to the spoken word in most of these. "I Need You" again. This has got the da 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 chorus behind it. Um, it feels like The Cure with the keyboards esque. It's got that kind of English pop vibe to it. I love the intro to this song because it does have that kind of English poppy, like 80s vibe to it. Very cool. "Joy" is the last song in the album, and we're back to the catchy Pretenders riff that I've been talking about with, the harmonies and the chorus and everything like that. And this is really, it really strikes you when you hear it the first time. And that's the thing is like these songs don't all catch fire for you right away, right? And this album doesn't sneak up on you like New Long Leg did. For me anyway, it doesn't sneak up on me. It didn't. I was prepared for what I was going to get with Dry Cleaning, and maybe it's just too gimmicky and it wears off because it's 11 songs here that are kind of doing the same thing in a lot of respects. Although I will say on this album they do, I mean, with The Cute Thing, "Joy," they do experiment with actual clean vocals, and I like that aspect, and I hope we get more of that as they lean into that in the future. Again, nothing here that I would be like says it's terrible. maybe Let It Grow, because again, I can't hear her. I can't understand what she's saying, and that's a real problem. They do regress a lot production wise here, but I think overall, like Cruise Ship Designer, Evil Evil Idiot, I just like the way she talks in that song. The Cute Things and Joy are songs that will make my rotations throughout the year, and I really feel like that's a really strong, you know, idea. JD says it's got good groove and it's fun, though I find it hard to think this will crack my top 12. Hip shaking, toe tapping goodness, the type of album that would make me think to pick up smoking again. Exactly, yeah. Uh, but we'll keep listening and see how it feels this year. Yeah, I agree with you, JD. I don't think either one of these albums I'm going to be talking about much past tonight. Uh, in the future, I think both of them kind of had a minor disappointment for me. But overall, look, I think what we're seeing here is the continuation of last year, and that is the genre shifts and the experiments. And I applaud, again, I've said this before, I applaud bands who do that. I want to see you stretch yourself. I want to see you put yourself out there. And I think a lot of what dry cleaning does works when they do stretch themselves. I think they rely too heavily on the things that have gotten them by before, and it's gimmicky and it's tough. It's tough to sell that kind of thing when it's that kind of gimmick, and so it's interesting, and it's just not as punky as it's been in the past. They really leaned a little bit more on the popular side here. Uh, that being said, I'm not the only one who talked about this album. Mr. JD Estrada also um, wrote. He's under the weather today, everybody, so he was going to come on and join me, but he's not feeling too good. So he wrote his track by track listing here, and that QR code right above me leads you right to the blog and that track. I'll have it at the end of the show too, so if you want to hold on to it and click on it at the end, it'll be up again. You'll be able to see it again, and you'll be able to go there and go check out what JD has to say about Dry Cleaning's latest album, Secret Love. All right, now it's time for me to epic rant. All right. So in exploring 2026's new new indie stuff, I rely heavily on my music player, and that music player I utilize is YouTube Music because I have premium. It's part of the service. I could also do the same thing for Amazon, and I would assume that Amazon's the same thing. I will say though, however, most of the stuff I discover through Bandcamp. Uh, I really don't want to even put this album up here on the screen, but I'm going to just so that you all get fair warning about it. But this is a thing called Storm Chant, and I say a thing because it's not real. It is an AI induced musician. Literally, this AI creature thing, whatever you want to call it, put out 8 albums within 2 week time period, which is the big red flag for if it's AI or not. I mean, obviously you can see from the cover that there is like AI elements of just the idea of that the emptiness in all of the 3D aspects of it. But I want you all to be aware that this is happening, and all the music sites are utilizing it. I don't know Spotify's policy on it. I was trying to look it up earlier. I believe they are anti-AI, and maybe the one thing that Spotify is really good at. But Apple, this album was available on Apple Music, on YouTube, and on Amazon. I found it in all 3 of them. So I will tell you, they are out there, and the companies are putting their stuff out there. And JD says people talking about signing ARS, snorting that AI and math. Yeah. And this particular set is not uncommon. This is a country album of songs. The genre's country, but we're getting a lot of metal invading our AI space too. I saw a lot of fake metal bands out there. So for all of you who know me, I'm a big metal guy, and I haven't seen any punk or anything like that. That would be interesting. But this is happening everywhere, and it's time to call a spade, and there's certain key things that you can do algorithm wise and uh, tonal wise where you can discover that it's AI. And I'm talking to you YouTube, Amazon, and Apple Music, because you're going to weed me away from your services. I will not. Oh, I don't want to put that up there all the way. I will not utilize your services if I feel like I can't get past all the AI shit. Now I can I can feather through it, and I've done so far where I've been able to say not interested and push it out of my lexicon of what they're what they give me when they say here's a new release, or hey, we would think you might like this album. They've stopped doing that with the AI stuff. I haven't got one in a few days. But I will say, if you want purity in your music, Bandcamp is a really good place. And that is the place where these artists get paid the most for what they do and how they put it out there. And most of them are independently funded and do it on their own. So I will always support Bandcamp as long as their policy remains that there's no AI driven things on it. And they have an actual policy on their website about that. So kudos to Bandcamp, and shame on you, YouTube, Amazon, and Apple. Though I'm not surprised, and I don't think anybody here is surprised. Anybody who watches this or sees this, I don't think any of us are surprised by the element of the idea that this is happening. But this is happening, y'all. This is going on, and it's really disgusting. And I don't care for it, and I'm gonna voice my opinion, and I'll call it out when I see it. So if you ever see anything by the band I wouldn't even call them a band. If you see this crap from Storm Chant, to put uninterested on there. And I know it's easy to just ignore it, to let it go, do whatever, right? But I think we have a responsibility as artists to call it out. And by calling it out, by doing your part, that is clicking on the fact that you're not interested in this. This is something you're telling the algorithm of whatever music site you're utilizing to not show me this anymore. And by doing that, it's going to register sooner or later that this is not something that anybody wants to see. So I implore all of you to do that. If you see this pop up on your feed, and you'll know it's AI simply because of the cover is very easy and obvious to point that out. But be careful with that too, because there's a lot of people who use Be Funky and Canva, and they utilize it in a way where they make it look kind of like that. And there might be some bands who are just kind of playing with that and kind of fucking with your mind. Some punk bands that might go, we're going to put something out that looks like AI, but it's not AI, because punk is just great like that. But, so the cover doesn't always tell the story, and if you listen to the music, it's hard to determine it until you listen to about 3 or 4 songs in a row. And then you go, this is pretty same. It's following a pattern. It's following a local artist, or an artist that put out an album and it's putting out a ballad, and then it's putting out a rock song, and then it's putting out this, and then this and this. You'll notice that it has a pattern, and every single album has that pattern. But the real telling thing is, and this is where AI has become really stupid, is that there'll be multiple albums that came out within the same time period, like literally weeks apart or days apart. And that is when that is AI. It's for sure 100% AI. 2 albums, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard may be the lone exception in that rule, because they put out an album every 3 weeks. But otherwise, that's the only band I know of that does mass putting out. There might be other bands who are putting out a retrospective and doing that. But King Gizzard puts out an album every month. So that's too bad for King Gizzard. That's the shining example. But that I knew this was AI when I started to delve into it, and I thought JD and I were actually having a conversation about it, and then I realized, oh shit, this is AI, and we put it together, and from then on, I've been searching for them. So I'm coming for you, AI bands, you mother. Yeah, I'm gonna get you. That's my Epic Grant, and brought to you by Go Indie Now, Touch of Indie, Joe Compton. And I do support this message. All right. We got some really great stuff happening this week. On Sunday, we got This Week in Indies, hosted by Mr. S.M. Hillman. And it is writing serialized fiction. It's going to be an awesome discussion. You guys can check that out, noon Eastern. Every Sunday, we're there, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and 9 a.m. Pacific for all of you masochists out there who want to get up early and watch some people talk about books. It's like myself. JD says, circuit hoppers, algorithm lickers. Yeah, absolutely. And so there's that. And next week, I will be back here to do another Touch of Indie. And I am going to be reviewing, because I'm going to go see it in the theaters this week, or upcoming week, a movie from the brand new indie film from Gus Van Sant called A Dead Man's Wire.
What are you here in Indianapolis? It is Tuesday, February 8th. I'm DJ Fred Temple. I thank you for listening.
Mr. Temple, sir, you have a caller?
I have dinner in 30 minutes is what I have.
That Tony Kuritz's fella's on the line and he's asking to speak to you. The guy with the shotgun in the man's neck.
You should open with that shit, James.
Bad times coming and I reap what I done sown.
Hello, Mr. Kuritz's.
It's an honor, Fred.
What's on your mind, brother?
This loan company's done me wrong.
They set me up and schemed to ruin my life.
Well, let me tell you something.
I'm not a rich man. I'm a poor man, and that never bothered me.
I'm a man that's fighting for everything that he owns, sir.
So what's your plan, Tony, huh? What's next?
This is a dead man's wire. If anybody yanks on me or yanks on that gun, he'll die.
Listen, Tony, you've made your point.
I want a formal apology from Meridian Mortgage. I want financial compensation for all the money I would have had, and I want to walk out of here a free man.
You want some milk?
Sure thing, Tony.
You like ice in your milk?
No ice, Tony.
Good, because I don't remember if I filled the trade this morning was a whirlwind.
Now, Tony, a lot of worried folk out here.
This is unbelievable.
Okay, Dad, if you wanted to take a moment to apologize, I think it would expedite this release process.
I'm not going to admit guilt to something I didn't do.
Just apologize for what you did. Just apologize.
No, Tony, no. Stay strong, Richard.
Hello? There's some sick, twisted people in this world.
I hear you, Tony. But holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
He's a goddamn hero is what he is.
Finally, somebody has the balls to stand up to these parasites.
I'm not going to be humiliated by anyone. The whole world is going to know the truth. I'm a man of the people. I know the people.
He's a good man.
He's out of control.
The real shit show.
Now I'm a goddamn national hero, and don't you forget it.
I'm just getting started.
Just go keep going straight. Now, I think it's a left up here. Left. I know where I live. God damn it. Yeah, I'm just trying to focus on the left here. You're right.
And that'll be what we see next week on Touch of Indies. I'll be reviewing Dead Man's Wire by Gus Van Sant. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to all the things we're doing here at Go Indie Now. Keep looking at the blog as well, because I will continue writing my reviews of all books that I read in 2025, not just my Indie Dozen, which I will also review on the blog. And I'm also posting all of the books that I read to Amazon and Smashwords if I can find them. Authors, put your books on Smashwords. What are you doing? do it. I mean, you should. But that's an epic rant for another epic time. And I will be putting all of those out there periodically throughout the next couple months. And you'll see that. Plus, I have my very first indie book of 2026 that I'm reviewing. I will reveal what that is next week here on this show on A Touch of Indie. So stay tuned for that. And then you'll be able to read that after the show. It'll post immediately after the show. And that being said, it's always time to go indie now. Thanks everybody for joining me. Go out there and check out Enshine, Elevation, and Drag Queen Secret Love. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.